Entities.
Now I'm going to resume the recording. I think you all should have just gotten an alert. Okay, great. Okay, everybody, good evening. It is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023 at 6:01 p.m. This is a meeting of the advisory committee, and we actually have quite a bit on our agenda, so we'll just get right to it. First up, we're going to be hearing from Michelle Carlisle, our tax collector. And Michelle, I know you're in your car. I can share the spreadsheet. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Would that be helpful?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I also have it too right in front of me. Okay. Anachka sent it to me.
Okay, so
yep, I can see it.
Just for everybody else's reference.
Yes, absolutely. I'm usually on page 9.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right there. Do you see it?
146. Yep.
Okay. Do you want to just quickly walk us through? I mean, we all know that the salary line adjustment is based on the salary and wage study that Kristen Noel carried out. So we don't necessarily need to get into that.
Okay.
But just remind us again, the stipend is for?
I'm certified.
Right. Okay.
Right. So I get that.
And then purchase of services on down, it looks like nothing is changing.
Nope, I am completely level funded.
And I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but has this amount been okay so far for you this year?
Yes, we increased, so we had to increase my postage. But what I did is for the FY23 budget, I increased postage, but I decreased office supplies. So I was still completely level funded. I just moved my money around a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because postage went up. So, I have City Hall Systems and Kelly and Ryan. They mail my bills for me, motor vehicle and real estate. And so postage went up. So I had to increase that. My purchase of services line, that is for the ACH fees. So I've been taking on the ACH fees, trying to encourage people to pay online.
Yep.
And that's been working out pretty good. So did you want me to just go through each line item, or did you want to ask me questions? How did you want to do that?
I had one question, and then I wanted to open it up to the rest of the committee. So my one question is if you can just remind us again about, in your budget, what is covered by the tax taking expense line?
So the tax collector does tax takings for non-payment of real estate taxes. And what that is you put a lien on someone's home. It's weird the way it's phrased, because I'm not taking anybody's property. Even the ad that goes in the newspaper says, for taking purposes. I'm not taking anybody's property. I'm just putting a lien on it. So your interest rate goes from 14% to 16%. And what that does is it protects the town. So I do that for anyone who is 6 quarters behind, between 5 and 6 quarters behind, because I only have 3 years to do it, or I lose the opportunity to do it. So I always go 1.5 years out. And if you're behind at that point, that's when I send letters and advertise and take the property. And I have to pay for advertising. And then when I do the instruments of taking, they went from $75 to record with the Registry of Deeds to $105. So each taking is now costing me $105. And I've been doing takings now twice a year. instead of just once.
Okay.
So, and by doing that, by sending out the letters more and all of that, I'm actually getting people to pay. So this taking right now that I'm going to be doing on March 20th is only 3 because I got several people to actually pay.
Yep.
So
And this
is working for us.
You said you wait until about 5 or 6 quarters behind.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Which is a year and a half.
Yep. And do you provide notice?
Of course.
So just briefly, how does that work?
So the way it works is I send the first letter that that says my intent. So you get 2 weeks to pay. And then the next letter is my intent to advertise you in the newspaper. You get 2 weeks to pay.
Yeah.
Then I advertise you in the newspaper for 2 weeks, or just once, but 2 weeks later is when I actually perform the taking. So people have about the least amount of time they have is 6 weeks, but I never can, I wait the 2 weeks and sometimes it's 3 weeks because I don't have the time to send the next letter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The rest of my job kind of gets in the way. So it's never less than 6 weeks. Could be a little more, but it's never less.
Got
By
it.
law, it can't be.
Thank you for that. That's helpful. Any other questions from anybody else on advisory? Not seeing any.
Okay.
Well, thank you. So in that case, does anybody want to make a motion to approve the tax collector's budget for $85,017?
I move we approve the tax collector's budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, great. Roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm just scrolling through. I don't see anybody else yet. Okay, and I'm a yes as well. All
Okay.
right. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. I'm going to go have a beer.
Sounds good. Wish we could join you. Bye.
You can after the meeting. Sterling Street Brewery, feel free. See you later, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Okay. Next up, we're going to hear from our treasurer and HR director, Kristen Noel. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Thank you.
So should we start with 145?
Sure.
Okay. Why don't you start at longevity?
So longevity is simply budgeted for any employee that works more than 10 years. So we have a classification plan in town that has 10 steps. And after 10 years, the employee is then eligible for a longevity payment. And we're very fortunate to have a lot of long-term employees. So we keep adding to that list each year. And so that's what the increase is of 1,000. We have 2 new employees actually eligible for longevity for this year.
Got it. Great. And then everything else is mostly level funded. Your postage is going down a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been utilizing the postage through town hall a little bit more than I thought, and so I don't really have a huge need for that.
Okay. And then just for informational purposes, can you distinguish tax title expense from what Michelle was just explaining with tax takings expense?
Of course. So once the property has had the instrument of taking recorded, the property is then considered to be in tax title. So what Michelle and I have been focusing on the last 3 years, Michelle in particular, we have hired a tax title attorney, Capola and Capola, and we are now looking at all of those properties in tax title. And there have been several parcels of land that we targeted. We're never looking to take someone's home, but we've had several properties on the books for many years, and we have started the foreclosure process on several of these properties. Unfortunately, in order to get these properties back on the tax roll, we do have to foreclose on them, and there are many expenses associated with that. And that's all through land court. So and it's very hard to predict from one year to the next, what we are going to be paying out. We've had a lot of activity just because a lot of this hasn't been done over the past few years. There hasn't been a lot done. So we're really trying to be active with that. We're actually planning on holding an auction in the spring. So all of this costs money, unfortunately. But again, the end game is to get these foreclosed properties back on the tax rolls to generate the tax revenue.
Okay. This isn't like technically in this budget, but the revolving fund.
Yeah, so we set the revolving fund up at town meeting a few years back, and what that allows us to do is if we have a property that is in tax title and an owner comes in and pays off the balance, any fees that we had to pay up front, for instance, the fees Michelle was speaking to, the advertising fee, the recording fee, any attorney fees that are associated with that parcel in order to foreclose, we are able, when we redeem these properties, to put that money that we're getting back for those fees into the revolving fund to help continue to fund the process for other parcels. We've had a few parcels that have been redeemed, and we've had a little bit of money flow through the revolving fund. It hasn't been as lucrative as we would have liked. But even with the auction, even if one parcel sells at an auction, we'd be able to take those fees back in. So the $8,000 is, definitely not nearly enough. I'm in quite a deficit right now because we're trying to move forward with this. We don't want to stop the process. Otherwise, these parcels are just going to hang out and we're never going to get them back. We're never going to experience any revenue from them. So eventually, so we're still trying to play catch up from that as far as with the land court. So it is what it is.
So has the town actually completed a foreclosure in any recent years?
Yes. Yep.
And so when that happens, there's money that the town gets through an auction, but do we keep all of that? Does some of it go back to the original property owner? How does that work?
It does not go back to the owner, no.
Got it. Okay.
So we've foreclosed on properties, but we haven't actually auctioned any off. So we haven't received any money yet.
Sorry, yes. This spring will be the first auction I'm aware of. All right.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Any other questions about the Treasurer 145 budget?
So I actually have an amendment to make, and I apologize for this because it's never a good thing. So reading the warrant, when my budget was first put together, we weren't sure as far as what capital expenses were going to come up or what expenditures were going to come up. So I did look at the warrant, and with the fire truck, so because of the value of the fire truck and looking, I think the intention is to borrow that. There is quite a substantial fee that I need to pay to bond counsel to have them provide me what's called a green light letter for us to move forward with the borrowing. So that is that is not reflected in the bank charges line item.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe we could get away with just the 43 for another year. But if our intention is to borrow for the fire truck, I would need, because of the value, again, I would need to add an additional $2,500 to the bank charge because that's what we're going to get charged for the green light letter.
Got it. I'd actually, if Dawn Lowe, if you're able to just chime in here on the timing of that. I know we're going to be talking about capital later, but would we need to bake that into the FY24 budget, or could that be an FY25 thing?
Our intention is not to borrow until at least FY25, possibly FY26, but I'm thinking FY25.
Okay.
So there is no intention of borrowing next year. All we need to do for town meeting is have the authorization to borrow.
if that's the case, then that's fine. We can certainly wait. I just wasn't sure of the timing. And to do the green light letter, I need, at least probably 3 to 4 months notice, before the borrowing. But yeah, if it's going into 25, we can certainly wait. I wasn't sure of the delivery schedule or anything, so.
Okay, well, in that case, I don't think it's necessary to add the 2,500 to your budget at this time. Okay, so any other questions for Kristen? Nope. Okay, thank you for that. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's total budget for $141,098?
I move we approve the treasurer's budget for $141,098.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right, thank you. Roll call, Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. All right, thank you. And now we're just gonna scroll down to human. Oh, sorry, was there a question?
Brian, I apologize for interrupting. Is Greg on the call? Was that
No,
Greg.
that was Craig with a C.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go on down to human resources 147. Go ahead, Kristen.
Yep, completely level funded, nothing new here.
Okay. So thank you for that. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I move we approve the human resources budget for $13,799.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, so Kristen, we may actually not end up voting on this tonight, just depending on some of the capital recommendations, although I don't think we're going to be doing any more borrowing. But did you just want to give a quick overview of 710 and 752?
Yeah, it's really just status quo. We've been slowly paying off some of our old debt, which is nice, which kind of opens up the budget a little bit. But yeah, it stands as is. And yeah, I don't know if anyone has any specific questions.
No, I mean, I think it's good that we have managed to lower our debt service, especially because there's the potential high school building project coming online soon. So yeah, I mean, no, actually, you tell me. We don't have to vote on this tonight, do we? We can vote on it another night.
Brian,
I mean,
Brian, I can promise you, I'm not going to be making any borrowing recommendations other than what we already discussed about the fire truck.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just vote on it. We're not proposing any new debt at all.
Okay. Well, then let's do it. Let's do it while we have an $186,000 decrease. So, all right. Is there a motion to approve 710 and 752 total debt service budget of $1,076,629?
I move we approve the total debt service of $1,076,629.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm yes as well. All right. Next up, we've got basically we have 911, 913, 914, 915, 916. So why don't we start with 911, which is kind of crummy news.
Yeah, I think we put a placeholder in for 10%, and we were quite shocked with that increase. And basically I went to the meeting expecting this bomb to be dropped with this big explanation and apology as to why it increased so much. And there really isn't any explanation other than they're trying to fully fund by 2035. It goes to, we had a brand new accidental disability added, which it was quite costly. And so really it is what it is. I hate to say that. There really isn't any other explanation other than the disability was a big factor in this increase.
Kristen, when you went to the meeting, were most of the other municipalities that are part of the Worcester Regional Retirement System getting, high double-digit increases?
Not quite as large as ours. We have 2 disabilities now, and due to the age and different circumstances, so that's a big part of it.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions about this one? I mean, this is not something that we have any real discretion or power over, so.
Should we expect another increase like this next year and the year after that?
This is the first time the disability was added, so I can't guarantee anything, of course, but I can, with much certainty, we're not going to experience a 21% increase because the disability is now part of our unit. It is part of the actuarial calculation. So we're all, honestly, I mean, we'll always, in the past, maybe we've averaged about a 10% increase, which is, not ideal as well, but that's where I'd like to see us. But I think it'll be closer to that in the years coming up, unless something, of course, happens, but.
Yeah, but now it's baked in.
Yes, but this is the
Okay.
first year that it's included.
Other
Thanks.
questions about that? That's a good question. So just to confirm, the number, Kristen, is 801,772. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the WCRS assessment of 801,772?
I move we approve the employee benefits for 801,772.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, Bill. Oh, sorry, Bill, you're muted.
Sorry, aye.
Okay, Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm a yes also. All right, next up is 913, which is 0.
Oh,
Is
so
that-
yeah, we haven't budgeted for unemployment in several years. We have yet to really experience a real claim. We've been presented with several fraudulent claims, but we've yet to experience a real claim. So I think the agreement was in the past, if we, someone could be laid off from another position that does work for the town. So if that was the case and we did owe anything, we would go to advisory for a reserve fund transfer.
Okay, so we'll keep it at 0. Is there a motion to approve 913 unemployment compensation for 0?
I move we approve unemployment compensation for 0.
Seconded.
Okay, roll call, Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
Yes, also. Okay, health insurance, group health, group dental, and OPEB.
So health insurance, when I first got off the call with Minuteman Neshoba Health, which we are part of, it's a joint purchasing group. The vote this year was to increase premiums by 13%. And really, it just goes back to the experiences over the past few years, the rising cost of insurance. I was blown away, and I think I emailed you, Brian. I didn't want to tell anyone because I knew the budget was tight, and I was shocked. But once we did the figures, and we actually have our enrollment went down, and we had 3 employees that were on active health insurance plans. They became Medicare eligible, so they switched from the active to Medicare. So as well as just the general enrollment going down, we were able to, it was very fortunate that the circumstances happened the way they did. So even though the premiums are increasing between 12 and 13%, we were able to just experience overall a 7% increase. I'm very happy with Minuteman Neshoba Health Group. I think the offerings are second to none. We're able to offer more than just Blue Cross. We have Harvard Pilgrim, Tufts. But what I did in light of this is I'm always looking for other options. So I actually have a meeting set up with Maya, who offers health insurance as well. They don't have the same offerings as far as the same, or they primarily do Blue Cross Blue Shield products. But again, we're going to meet with them, and I'm going to, we're going to look at some costs for FY 2025 just to compare. So we understand that this is a huge part of the budget, and we're always looking to just to make sure that we're offering the most competitive product, and we're trying to look out for the best package for the town. So, but we're going to stay with Minuteman this year, and then, like I said, we're always looking for options.
Okay, that's great. I just had a couple quick questions about that. So, sorry. As I recall, a few years ago, Minuteman Neshoba Health Group basically had 3 different options. There was Fallon, there was Tufts, and there was Harvard Pilgrim. Fallon left, and then Blue Cross came in, but now Harvard and Tufts are essentially merging as like 0.32. So basically, do you have 2 plans now versus the 3 before, or?
No, Harvard Pilgrim and Tufts are still running independently as far as the plans for FY 2024. And I do recall that conversation last year, and that was not spoken at all in this entire budget process through the health group. So I'm not sure when they're actually going to be consolidating and offering one product, or I don't really know what the plan is with them.
Okay.
But no, Tufts is it standalone. We have Harvard Pilgrim. We have the high deductible for all 3 plans right now. We also have, for some cost savings, as well as the standard deductible plan. So.
Okay. All right. And then group dental is flat, which is nice. Is that also through the Minuteman Neshoba Health Group?
No, so we went out last year to Delta Dental, and we were able to get a 2-year contract. So this is year 2 of our contract. It's a brand new offering. It's very popular. Fallon, actually, before it left, Fallon had a dental component to the health insurance plan. Yep. So with Fallon going away, we definitely wanted to keep the dental option alive we wanted to keep it for the employees. So we go through Delta Dental now.
Okay, and then this is the part that I'm sure you're really excited to explain is the increase in our OPEB.
I'm going to explain it at a high level, and then I can have Ninotchka really.
Oh, I love that. Ninotchka, did you see that bus coming your way?
So much better.
Yeah, I have to go.
It should be under the accountant. Yeah, we actually, Ninotchka, we hired Parker Elmore to really audit what we were doing as far as our OPEB liability. And they went through everything. What we found, one of the biggest contributing factors of this increase is that prior to myself, and I'm not sure, I don't know, but May of 2007, it was voted that the town reimburse our retirees Part B, Medicare Part B. So on a quarterly basis, we are doing those reimbursement payments to anyone that was hired prior to May of 2007. And because we have so many longtime employees, which is wonderful again, but we that's become a huge factor in the OPEB calculation. And we were not accounting for that prior to Parker Elmore coming in and reviewing what we were doing. So that is a big factor as to what the increase is made up of.
Okay. I don't know if you have anything to add, Ninotchka.
I would say also the poor market performance did not help us. Our asset value went down, but it's coming back. We're back to where we were, but unfortunately, you do this valuation as of 6/30/2022, and it wasn't so great, but hopefully it'll be better next June 30.
The market has been all over the place. 1 month we're like doing cartwheels in the office because we just made all this money, and then we lose it the following. So it's been a really rocky road as far as investment goes. But it's a long-term investment, and we just need to stick it out.
So Um, just so that I understand the Medicare Part B thing. So there was a vote taken by a town meeting that basically said for anybody hired before May 2007, for that group of folks, the town's going to be reimbursing Part B premiums, but not for people hired after May 2007, right? And that that wrinkle, I guess, was not previously part of the calculation. Is that
Right, we had a, the company we were using before was not high level, but it wasn't as detailed as an actual actuary. And then our auditors told us we had to have an actual actuary do it. And then when we hired Odyssey Advisors, that became clear that we were not accounting for that.
Okay. And so then I guess similar to the discussion about the disability being quote unquote baked into the WCRS assessment, now that this Medicare Part B wrinkle is baked into our OPEB number, we shouldn't be seeing such a huge jump
Right.
next year. Is that right?
That I believe so. That's my belief, Brian.
Okay.
You got to believe.
Yeah. Is that your belief too, Kristen?
If Natasha believes, I believe.
Oh, God. All right. Okay.
Don't stop believing.
But does the payment of those reimbursements show up in the budget somewhere else that we've been paying since 2007?
It's in the health insurance number.
Oh, so it's always been there. I see.
Yeah.
We just weren't accounting for the liability part. Okay.
Nanachka, so it meaning that if we look at the 722,023, some portion of that is in a spreadsheet somewhere as the Part B reimbursements.
Right. Kristen, how much I'm trying to think.
Do you know off the
Would
top
be
of your head how many people?
20,000, 20. Do you know off the top of your head?
Might be 20 to 25. We've had, I think, 6 or 7 new additions, and that's why the past few years it's really kind of stood out. But yeah, it's probably close to 25,000 per year at this point. I can get the exact figure to you, but it's approximately that.
Question I have concerning the OPEB and the increase to account for the Medicare Part B. I'm assuming we know who those individuals are.
Correct.
Okay. What happens if those individuals, these are for individuals who have quote unquote retired? Okay. What if those individuals start working for some other entity where they're getting health insurance or they're getting paid for their Medicare?
Doesn't matter.
Well, I understand, but have we obviously we're not accounting for that, nor is there anything in what we're doing that says, okay, if you've retired from the town of Bolton, we're now going to pay you, you get your retirement, we're going to reimburse you for your Medicare Part B, but there's nothing that says if you go back to work full time or part time or whatever, and someone else is paying for that benefit.
Correct. It's not stated anywhere.
Well, and we only pay for the Part B reimbursements for those that are on Medicare plans that we're paying for. So unless they were able to get it, less expensive somewhere else. But yeah, there isn't anything to prevent.
So I'm not that people are, but I'm just saying someone could be double dipping.
I think they need to, but technically they could.
Yeah, because they're not getting Part B through us. They get Part B through themselves.
Correct. Yeah, because you have to have Part A and B in order to be eligible to get the supplemental plan through the town.
Okay.
I guess sort of a related question is whether I'm not suggesting that we try to go back and change the decision that was made in 2007, so I don't want to be misunderstood. But I'm wondering, is there anything that we should consider having town meeting vote on to kind of deal with the situation that Stan just brought up, basically clarifying that if this happens, then you lose eligibility for the program? Or are you comfortable with the status quo?
We've looked at this at a high level and we've had some conversations about it, and it's a kind of a tricky, it's a slippery slope, because we don't want to discriminate or create a new class that we're treating differently. It was a slippery slope. So, I mean, I would love to certainly go back and review it again, even tighten it up maybe, but it has been discussed at a higher level, but it probably is worth another conversation.
Brian, it's been discussed, but at this point, we'd be uncomfortable recommending anything right now. We'd need to have a long talk about it because it could create more problems than it's worth.
Yeah, and you'd need town council to make sure, well, like Kristen said, wouldn't be construed as creating different classes.
Exactly.
Well, but, and I don't want to be cruel and harsh, but you could construct a vote that says we're no longer going to pay this. Because in the private sector, there are very few companies, if any right now, that once you retire or leave, they don't pay your health insurance at all. So what we're doing is quite frankly, more of an anomaly than it is mainstream.
Yep.
And quite frankly, not to be selfish, but we have provided this benefit for quite some time. And
Well,
if the trend is going in the other direction, which I believe it is, I mean, I've never worked for a company that continued to pay my health benefits when I left or when I retired. They offer you COBRA, and if you want to buy COBRA for 18 months, you certainly can. And then in Massachusetts, you go in the free market until you turn 65, where then you can go on your own and buy Medicare, Part A, which is free, and Part B, which you pay for, and then you can get the supplemental insurance. I think we should look at this. Not to be harsh, but we're running a business here.
Well, as Kristen said, we're going to be taking another look at it, but it's way too late in the ball game this year.
Oh, no, I'm not saying now. No, not at all now. But I think we should look at our options moving forward. I mean, this ship has sailed, so we're done.
Just a procedural question. Maybe this is for our town administrator more than anybody else, but so this type of an issue strikes me as touching on a whole bunch of things besides just budget, like negotiations, labor relations, all that stuff. So what would be the proper venue for this type of question to be taken up? Would it be?
The proper venue would be for the town administrator to discuss it with town council and probably the Mass Municipal Association as well. Because as much as we like to use the term, a municipality is not always run or treated the same as a business. There are differences. If we work for a business, we would be getting 100% of our Social Security. We don't get that. So there's a lot of nuances in working for a municipality. And I would want to make sure that we were on really solid ground and have some in-depth conversations that I can have with town council that I just can't have in a public meeting.
Yeah.
Sure. No, it makes sense.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for that. Any other questions about the health insurance budget section 914? No. Okay, so is there a motion to approve 914 health insurance for $1,041,569?
I move we approve 914 health insurance for $1,041,569.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm yes as well. Okay, the rest of your evening should be easier, Kristen. Next up is life insurance for 9:15.
Yep, just level funded.
Yep. And then the Medicare tax is a function of basically payroll, right?
Correct.
So maybe this is a question, Nachka, for you, or yeah, I think it's mostly for you. Do we think this number is going to change at all? Should we wait?
I would probably wait till the last. It's a formula based on all the salary in the budget. So if you change one salary thing, that's going to change that number.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so then we'll wait on that, but let's vote on 9:15, which is level funded at $1,400. Is there a motion to approve 9:15 life insurance for $1,400?
I move we approve 9:15 life insurance for $1,400.
Seconded.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I am also yes. I think that's everything for you, Kristen, right?
I think so.
Well, thank you very much. And also thank you again for all the work that you shared with us in the select board regarding the wage and salary study. That was what, several meetings ago, but I know it was a lot of work.
Thank you.
Okay, so enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks, you as well.
And we're basically going to close out our night with the man of the hour, our illustrious town administrator, Don Lowe. So I didn't know, Don, if there was anything you wanted to say before I share the spreadsheet again, or just get right into it.
It's always a pleasure to be here doing this and being with advisory. I think you're going to see that we're going to go through these 8 budgets pretty quickly because there aren't a lot of changes, and the run rates for the most part are pretty good. So I'm not really recommending a lot of different things, although I'll have some comments when we get to individual budget items, but really I would suggest focusing on any questions that advisory has.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. Here we go. Why don't we start with select board 122. This is pretty much, we're used to this budget, but there is a change or an addition. So do you want to say a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm sorry, but which edition are we looking at?
There's just $845 in opioid fund.
Oh, yes, sorry. The opioid fund, and actually there will be more to come, but the Attorney General, former Attorney General Healy, settled a class action lawsuit against multiple pharmaceutical companies regarding their role in opioid addiction. Every city and town is going to be receiving some level of funds that are to be used in concert with the legislation, which is essentially put back into something that has to do with opioid addiction, drug addiction, that type of thing. We've had several internal meetings about some suggestions on how we could proceed with our money. Right now, between what you see there and I think another amount that we're going to be receiving, in round numbers, I think we're looking at about $4,800 total. Not going to get into the details tonight about how I think we would want to propose to spend it, but we will have an article. We do have an article for the town meeting warrant asking the voters to authorize us to spend the money in concert with the legislation. I will say that I'm looking at a regional program with at least one other town, if not two. And I would love to be able to do something that's more impactful on a regional level. So I think that's pretty much all I'll say about that right now.
Okay, just so I guess what I'm wanting to understand is why is there an $845 additional expense?
I can answer that. So it's just semantics. So if you go and look at the local receipts, I put the 845. Unfortunately, the state last year stripped having a special revenue fund for this out of the budget, which means it has to go into income because all funds are general fund money, has to go into miscellaneous income and then closed out to free cash, which is a huge pain. So we have to put it in local receipts, put it in as an expense, and then have an article for it until the legislators can figure out a special revenue fund.
Okay, so.
So it's a net zero to the budget.
Right, so although it looks, because we're just in the expenditures tab, although it looks like an $845 expense, there's a balance on the revenue
Exactly.
side.
Exactly.
Correct. Thank you,
Got it.
Natka. That was quicker than I could have said it.
So is there another 4,000 somewhere?
That will come in FY '24. Sorry, Don.
Yes. Again, she was faster than I would have been.
I mean, I'm sorry. I always get it backwards. The 800 is the FY '24. The 4,000 we got in FY '23, and you'll see an article for it on town.
Okay. That's fine. Thanks.
Got it. Okay. I was waiting for a member of our select board to propose adding a line here for paying the Medicare Part B premiums of members of the select board, but I'm just kidding. All right, so is there a motion to approve select?
I'll go for that.
Yeah, right.
I'll go for that.
Motion to approve select board for 20,465.
I move we approve select board for 20,465.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm yes as well.
Great.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Next up, town administrator's budget. So the salary and wages are purely a product of the salary and wage study plus COLA, right?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And then compensation reserve, is this $30,000 still needed based on like agreements that haven't been finalized?
We have one outstanding agreement that hasn't been finalized yet. So yes,
Okay. And you think we're going to need 30? Yeah, I guess you can't get into the details, but
it's my best estimate right now.
okay. Okay. Any other questions about this? No. Okay. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the total town administrator budget of 288,910?
I move we approve the town administrator budget at $288,910.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm also yes. All right. Next up, we've got legal.
So things have been running well, had been running well legally, with 2 union contracts done and 1 imminent. I am not anticipating the need for labor counsel in FY '24, and I had been anticipating seeking a reduction in the legal budget, but due to DePietro versus the town of Bolton, I am not going to do that. And I'm suggesting that the legal budget remain level funded.
Okay, that's a federal lawsuit.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Dawn about the legal budget? Okay, is there a motion to approve for $70,000 total legal services?
I move we approve the legal services budget for $70,000.
Seconded.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I am a yes also. All right. Oh, quick question for you, Ninotchka. I think this is for you. We didn't actually vote on town buildings yet, did we? I think Randy covered that, but we didn't vote on it yet, did we? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Um,
Are we
think-
allowed to vote on it if it's not on the agenda?
yeah, good point. You know what? Let's just remember. Nanatsu, can you put a note in your spreadsheet maybe that we want to add this to the list of things to vote on at one of our like cleanup meetings?
Sure.
Yeah, that plus Medicare tax and all that. All right. Sorry, Don. Go ahead with 192.
Okay, 192, again, running pretty well. We don't have a lot of change. The one thing that we've got in here that's different, well, we've got recommendations obviously for heating and electric, and we've got the 1,743 in there for purchase of services, which admittedly at the moment I'm drawing a blank on. I can't find my note. Jenny, can you save me?
Jenny's muted.
So you're asking what the expenditures were out of there?
No, for the purchase of services for $1,743.
Under the 192 town hall.
Yeah, let me take a quick look.
Now I'm wondering, Brian, is the reason we didn't do town buildings, was that the lease? Was that the plotter lease, maybe? Does that ring? Remember, it was in DPW, but then we thought it should be in town, or?
It is in town, and I think I was in that meeting and Randy had it in his budget, but I brought up the fact that it was also built into our proposed budget.
So I feel like that might be the lease for the plotter.
You know, Ninotchka, now that you say that, I think that's the conversation Jenny and I had. Or maybe I had it with you and not Jenny, but I had it with somebody, and that is sounding correct. Because it's a very exact number.
Right.
It looks like a lease number. Sorry, Jenny.
So the lease is 870. Oh, so 875 was for the ink.
There would be supplies as well as the lease.
50. So the lease is in 5,800. The lease is in capital outlay.
Okay,
But you're asking about 5,200. Oh, that's the division of weights and measures.
oh, okay, all right. Yes, I can explain that. Up until this coming fiscal year, actually until this fiscal year, the state was paying for the activity of weights and measures, which is basically someone comes out and tests every scale in town that is at a restaurant or someplace that sells goods that are weighed. But our population has risen to a certain point where they will no longer provide that service for free. So you either have to hire somebody to do it, or they will continue to provide the service, but at a price. So that's the service we are purchasing. And that's the exact dollar amount that the state gave us as a quote.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You learn something new every day. I had no idea that was even a thing.
Yeah.
Yep, you have a sealer of weights and measures. And larger communities have employees that do that. Smaller communities do not.
And in Natchka, I don't think I was aware that that was even being done in town until we got the notification to say that it was no longer going to be done for the town.
Well, we gotta do it. So, all All right, that all makes sense. Any other questions about the total town hall budget? No? Okay. Is there a motion to approve for $41,318 total town hall budget?
I move we approve the town hall budget for $41,318.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
I'm also a yes. All right, town reports. $700 decrease.
Well, we just are producing fewer reports, quite honestly. We've lowered it, maybe not every year, but almost every year. When I first came to town, the inventory of Old Town reports that we had was incredible. So we've been reducing it, and I think pretty much this is just another reduction.
Okay. Motion to approve town reports budget for $3,000.
I move we approved the town reports budget for $3,000.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig.
Aye.
I'm a yes also. All right, now we're gonna jump down to, I think I actually got the number wrong. It should be, I believe, 303 instead of 302. But this is just, this post-secondary voc ed line is something that we have to fund if we have to fund it. But if we don't have any students in that category, then we zero it out, right?
Yes, that's correct. And we have not been notified of any students going to a vocational school other than Minuteman.
Okay. So, is there a motion to approve 303 post-secondary voc ed for $0?
I move we approve 303 post-secondary voc ed for $0. But I also ask whether we should be voting on it since it's not on the agenda.
You know what? Let's just be good doobies and put it over to the next time.
You know how happy it makes your town administrator to hear people taking the open meeting law so literally. It's a beautiful thing.
Good job, Craig. Thank you.
Congrats to Craig. Yay. What a guy. What a guy.
Anytime I can brighten Don's day.
It doesn't take much, does it, Craig?
All right, so I'm gonna put that on the list too, 303. We're gonna do it a cleanup meeting. All right, so zooming down to 912, workers' comp, which again, is that $28,180 number? Is that good? I don't know if that's a question.
It's the workers' comp, so I'm not actually prepared to answer that question.
No, I am prepared to answer that question because Kristen Noel and I had a conversation after I spoke with Joanne today, and that number is good.
Okay.
Okay, the 28,
The 28,180.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve workers' comp for 28,180?
I move we approve workers' comp for 28,180.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I am also a yes. And then the last operating budget for you is 945 other insurance.
Yes, and all the numbers we have there were verified with Maya today, with the exception of 5740 general insurance. We have a requested of $79,987. The amended number that we got today is $79,051. So a reduction of $936.
And the reason being is because the policy is dropping off.
Yes, the coverage for the cottage at Persons Park is
Oh.
dropping off.
Okay. But the 1,200 for bonding $45,747 for police and fire accident, and then the $5,000 deductible. Those are all good.
Yes,
Okay, so it looks like the total is $130,998. Natasha, speak up if that looks wrong to you.
Looks good.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion to approve the total other insurance budget for $130,998?
I move we approve other insurance for $130,998.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
yes, also. Phew, okay,
great. Thank you.
awesome, thank you. And thank you, Jenny, as well. All right, so actually, after we're finished with our town administrator, we'll go back and vote on the assessor's budget as well, but I don't want to take up anybody's time with that right this second.
Thank you.
So we could just get on into capital.
So I have the 1 year plan, obviously for this year, and the 5 year plan that I committed to having for tonight. Do you want to walk through the 1 year plan first?
Whatever you want to do. I have both of the spreadsheets, so I'll just open whichever one you want to start with.
Why don't we start with the FY24 1 year plan?
Okay.
There's several different components to it, and I'll try to be as specific as possible here working through this. So let me say that my goal entering into capital planning, I was hoping to not recommend using any free cash, so that advisory would be free to apply free cash as it saw fit to our budget, our operating budget. So if you look at
Here, let me just share the screen. Before I do, one note, I think there's just a small typo where in the spreadsheet itself, it says FY23, but obviously what we're looking at is FY24.
right, you're right, this is a plan
Okay.
for FY24.
Got it. All right.
So the majority of funds I am proposing that the select board vote to use ARPA funds to pay for that, but I'll just walk down the spreadsheet. So the first block I have here is, let me just take one other step back. Historically, the capital plan has items prioritized 1 through X, depending on how many proposals there are. I took a slightly different approach this year because of the situation we're in. I looked at every proposal that was sent to me and I approved all but one. So, and the one I didn't approve will become obvious in a minute. And the rankings seem to be, since we're able to work with funds other than free cash, the rankings seem less important to me because I'm recommending we do them all, and we can do them all with a few different funding sources. I can get into prioritization if anybody's interested, but just to walk through the spreadsheet.
Yep.
First, I'm looking at DPW buildings, the work that needs to be done on several different buildings based on the study that Randy recommended 2 years ago and was voted in at town meeting. We received the study last March. So this is a byproduct of what's in that study. So if we look at buildings, we've got the public safety building, which needs about $129,600 in repairs. We've got the fire station roof replacement, which, and to the best of my knowledge, no work was done on that roof when the building was, when the public safety building was built, the new public safety building. So this is not like a 12-year-old roof that we're saying needs to be replaced. I'm specifically recommending stabilization fund for that in the amount of $345,000. That's the second time in 14 years I've recommended the stabilization fund. I think given the nature of the expense and again, the financial situation that we're in this year, I think that it's certainly an appropriate use of the stabilization fund. It will require a 2/3 vote at town meeting for the voters to approve that, but we have a little over $1 million in the stabilization fund now, somewhere between $1 million and 1.1. I don't have the exact number in front of me. So we can certainly do that. I think it would behoove us to plan on restoring that money over a period of time. So we can return the stabilization fund to where it is now. But I think we'll have the flexibility to do that in the coming years. The Houghton building, $13,200. The town hall, $59,500. The library, $57,200. The DPW, $94,500. That adds up to a grand total of, bearing with me, $300. Bear with me.
You're just looking at the buildings.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm just going to walk through the whole thing.
I'm getting 699.
Yeah, 699 is correct. But then we've got the spreader, dump body, and the dump sander for the DPW for a total of $248,000, which Chapter 90 money will pay for. And then finally a Ford 350, which again, I would recommend spending ARPA money on. So the sum total of well, again, I'm going to stay away from the sum totals for now. So that's what we've got for DPW.
Okay, can I just jump in here for 1 second?
Yep.
So when it comes to anything where you're suggesting ARPA as the source, that ultimately would be approved by the select board outside of a town meeting process, right?
Yes.
And so I mean, this is mostly for anybody that might be watching, just so that they understand too. And so these things won't show up on the warrant, and neither would the Chapter 90 expenditures for the spreader, dump body, or the dump sander, right?
That's correct.
And so then the only thing for DPW items that would show up on the FY24 warrant would be the the roof replacement.
Yes, the
fire station,
$345,000 for the roof replacement.
Okay, and so I apologize, I haven't seen a copy of the draft warrant, but is since it needs a 2/3 approval at town meeting, is there going to be like quite a bit of detail about what's going to happen in that project, or?
Well, when we speak to it that night, yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I have a quick question on all the building repairs in that building assessment. There were like 4 categories of repairs. There was urgent and high priority and a few others. Which do these cover? Is this just the urgent, or is it the urgent and the high?
I've got, you won't be able to read this, but you can see the size of the spreadsheet and the small type. I've got 10 pages worth of projects on here. And yes, what we're focusing on for FY24 is either immediate consideration or high priority. For example, immediate, many times is a code violation that we become aware of, or a safety violation. And that's where most of our focus has been. But in the case of the roof, obviously the roof is not a safety violation or a code violation, but it's to the point where it needs to be replaced. So yes, the highest priority were the immediate projects, but not strictly the immediate projects.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Don, my apologies. I lost internet and I had to redo my cable modem. The line item 4350 for 115 grand. Is that the previous Ford that was in as a warrant article?
No, that's a different one. No, that one was removed, Stan.
Okay, so this is a different vehicle.
Yeah, the warrant article, I think, referred to a 250, which did not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a different truck.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So then moving on down to the schools, Florence, Sawyer, and Emerson. We've got three, well, we had 4 requests submitted, 3 of which I approved, and one, and I discussed this at length with the superintendent many times. But I'll just work down. The second floor carpet removal tile replacement in Florence Sawyer, that's phase 2 of what we started this year to remove all the carpeting in there and replace it with vinyl in the classrooms. We had the mold issue there last year due to water infiltration, and it just seemed appropriate to just remove the carpet right out of there. The first phase went very well. I have every reason to believe the second phase will too. The replacement of a failed fuel tank monitoring system. They have an oil tank there that they can see what the level of oil is that's supposed to be in there. They also actually use a dipstick that they drop in to try to verify the level with that. But we really should be using an actual monitoring system and not doing something like that. So that would be the $23,500. The one item that I did disapprove, and I'll give you a little history on it. I think we're all aware of the fact that there's been discussion about air conditioning at Florence Sawyer for many years. A little over a year ago, I was actually of the opinion that this is something that we could do, because the initial cost estimates that I had been given without an engineer's input was in the neighborhood of $400,000, maybe 5. So I thought maybe with a combination of some ARPA money and maybe a small borrowing or maybe some free cash, we could do it. But I really wanted an engineer involved. We got an engineer involved, but the price kept on going up. And now with supply prices being what they are now and being out of control, the latest estimate that I was given by the school district was 1.9 to $2.1 million. I'm sorry, 1.6 to $2 million. And it's just not something that I was comfortable doing, at least not this year. So, and I had a long talk with the superintendent about it. Superintendent Downing understands. He agrees, he supports the decision to not bring it forward this year. So there is no disagreement with the superintendent on that. And then finally, the Emerson cafeteria sliding door removal. They've got material there that's deteriorating. I think they also consider it to be a safety issue, so they want the door removed but not replaced with another door. There would be I think a half wall put in and then some sort of maybe window up above it, but they're not looking to replace it with another door. They would just like it removed and that entryway sealed. And I think that made perfect sense too. So looking at those 3 total projects is $185,991. Again, that can be done with ARPA funds. I would suggest it is done with ARPA funds. So when you look at the sum total of everything in FY24, whether it's buildings, whether it's equipment, whether it's the roof, regardless of the funding source, the total needing to be spent for next year, if we do all this, is $1,247,991. So a lot of work to be done. I can't say how happy I am that Randy recommended that we get this building analysis done. I think it's been invaluable. It's also somewhat depressing, but I think it's been very informative, and I think it was money well spent.
Great, thank you. I did just wanted to make sure that I understand, because what you just said looked different from what I had interpreted the spreadsheet. So I had thought that the 185,991 for the school projects was maybe being paid for by free cash, just because it looks like for the ARPA subtotal, the highlighted cells don't include the school projects. So I don't know if that should be changed, or if we were going to be using free cash for those school projects.
No, we would be using ARPA funds for that. I'm not recommending, I am personally not recommending any free cash for capital.
Okay, so that's just a change in the spreadsheet. Okay, and then do you have a sense of how much of an outlier the Florence Sawyer School is, just in terms of its AC situation compared to the other district schools?
I think it is somewhat of an outlier. Obviously, there's a new school in Stowe, which clearly has AC. I think the other school in Stowe has AC. I don't know about Mary Rowlandson in Lancaster. I'm honestly not aware if it does or it doesn't. But I think it would be fair to call it an outlier. It's a somewhat older building, 30 years old, and yeah.
Okay.
I just can't believe the amount that project has increased over the course of a year and a half.
Yeah. Okay, are there other questions about this FY24 spreadsheet?
No, there's no questions, but I think we need to have a plan to replace that $345,000 in stabilization fund at some future date.
Yeah, I agree. And actually what I want to do is, I know that our written policy sets some parameters around minimum levels of the stabilization fund, and then like how much of a window we have to replenish it. So I know that we're supposed to, if we go below our minimum threshold, we have to at least pledge to replenish it to that level within 2 fiscal years. I just don't know off the top of my head whether we would be dropping below that if we spend $345,000. But yeah, I agree. We should talk about that at one of our next meetings.
Okay.
Absolutely agree. And although it's not it's not on the agenda tonight, I'll just say that if we find ourselves in a budget situation where we think we may not be able to fully fund OPEB, I would take the same approach there, that we have our get well plan to catch up.
Yep.
For the same reasons, basically.
Okay, so before I stop sharing this spreadsheet, I just want to be crystal clear that the only item that we would ultimately have to vote on when we go through the warrant would be the stabilization fund expenditure. Everything else is going to be spending outside of the warrant process.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the 5-year plan.
So, Bar, you have that, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. Perhaps the easiest thing to do there is to give the committee a chance to take a look at this. I mean, obviously, since they're outlying years, I don't have a lot of project detail. There's a forecast. Well, I have project detail as far as the Bolton buildings go, but that's aside from that, I don't have detail behind the school projections, for example, other than the notes that you see there. That's all the detail that I have. And the detail for anything relative to the DPW buildings all ties back to the building study. But at a relatively high level, this gives you the forecast for what we're looking at in outlying years for building expenses.
Okay. So I see that fire truck for 949 is showing up in FY26.
26, it maybe, to be conservative, could be pulled into FY25. It's a 2-year lead time on these right now, but I don't know when we're going to have to. We don't know yet when we're going to have to provide our first amount of money. So FY25 might be a more conservative approach.
Okay. I agree. We could take some time to review this, and we don't necessarily have to get into too many questions tonight, but if people have any quick questions, let's get them out.
No questions, but John, this is really great. It's very helpful.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. There's been Randy's put an awful lot of work into this. When I started working on the plan, anybody that came into my office, I probably looked like a bad scientist sitting there at my desk and had numbers all over my whiteboard. And there's been a lot of iterations. Jenny's been incredibly helpful trying to help me put this into some coherent spreadsheet that doesn't look like just some sort of a mind map, because at one point that's what it looked like. So this has been a long time coming, but I think there's a lot of good information in here.
John, can you say some words about the DPW, the public safety building and town hall, $320,000 and $215,000 charges for 27?
27, sure. Give me one moment. So public safety, let me take my glasses off so I can read, Craig. The biggest single item for public safety in FY27, as I read this, there's a couple of significant ones. One is projected $138,000 to replace the generator. And $150,000 to replace to do work on the ventilation ducts and AHU as part of the HVAC system. The proposed improvement, the note says, replace to meet current coding and increase efficiency. Ducts look original, no access to AHU, but assume original AHU. Life expectancy is 20 years. Recommend redesigned systems serving the space in conjunction with gas detection system. Infrared heat could help to improve efficiency. So those are the two big items there. And I'm sorry, what was your other question, Town Hall, Craig?
Yeah.
Ten pages of 6-point type is fun. Let's see, we have for $180,000, we have the total repointing and surface cleaning of the brick. So the all of the brick will need to be repointed by then and cleaned. One of the notes is brick staining throughout the exterior and missing mortar is observed. And the recommended action category is an A, but we still pushed it out that far because there are other things that we also know we need to get to. But you know, obviously things can always be pulled in. And that's by far and away the major ticket item there.
Okay,
I had a question for you, Don. At the spreadsheet that we were, the 1-year spreadsheet that we were looking at, there were separate categories for police, parks and rec, and library. And it looks like basically library requests are being folded up under DPW in general, right?
Yes, since the DPW maintains the buildings, we rolled that all up into the DPW.
Okay, but then for the, and I know that there's no request this year for police or parks and rec, but did you have a chance to consider whether police or parks and rec would be needing anything for this 5-year plan?
I'm not aware of anything for parks and no, police would not have any capital requests other than normally equipment. And the chief has not made me aware of anything over the next 5 years. You know, we try to get a lot of our extraneous equipment through grants, such as, well, bulletproof vests are a good example. Most times we're able to fund our bulletproof vests through grants. When we got body cameras, for example, we got those through grants. We got the cruiser cameras through grants. So those are the types of things that if you're unable to secure a grant, then we would be looking at capital appropriations for things like that.
Got it. Okay, any other questions before I stop sharing this one? No, I agree. This is really great to see. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
And then Jenny sent us the PowerPoint, which had some information about the fire truck. Did you want to just talk about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. When the chief was in late January, he was asked about the possibility of taking a look at a lease vehicle. I mean, I'm sorry, not a lease vehicle, a used vehicle.
Yep.
As opposed to brand new. So what we've got is the report that he sent in to me.
I've got it up on the screen too.
Yeah, so somewhere in my morass of papers, I have it here too. Here it is. So he offered observations on 3 used vehicles with pros and cons. When we look at the cons, the one thing that he did say to me when I met with him was he really feels it's important that any new vehicle, any pumper, I should say, can hold at least 1,000 gallons of water. He thinks that's the minimum that he needs for, you know, to be effective. But this is what we've got. So the first one, $695,000. It's only got 2,000 miles on it. Pretty good space, 1,500 gallon pump, but as he said, only carries 650 gallons of water, limited storage because of the top mount pump, and limited hose storage as well. So, and then next, a slightly older model with more miles on it, less expensive. Pros, again, good sized cab, pretty good storage, and it's available. The downside is 780 gallons of water. Again, issues with the hose storage and no front intake to be able to draw from fire ponds, which he sees as a negative. Next is the 2020 Pierce Saber for 715,000. Got more miles on it. It does have more capacity for water, can seat 6 firefighters. Again, no front intake for fire ponds, and the hose storage is limited.
Just to interrupt there for a second, do you know the reason for having so much hose storage in our community? Is it because of just like sometimes how far properties are from a fire pond?
Yes, sometimes we need to draw from a long way away. In fact, I think well, we've got some really long driveways in town, common driveways, where we could have to easily draw from over 1,000 feet away. I think the longest that I'm aware of may even be up to like 1,800 feet in a couple of locations. When you think of it, it's over a third of a mile. So that's a lot of hose if we ever needed to utilize that.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a new apparatus that he's already discussed
Yep.
with all the details there. And then he also looked at what would an EV do for us? The bottom line estimated cost of 1.9 to 2.1 million dollars. I know what that would do for us. And it, excuse me, excuse me.
I know it's doing for you, Don.
I know. First time I've choked all day. Limited water capacity as well. There are no grants available for that type of apparatus that we could even hope for. And it's still in the, what would I call it, the introductory stage. So I think this is the type of thing, you don't ever want to be one of the early communities getting one of these.
Yep. Okay, so the plan at this point, it may be an FY25 or FY26 is a new one for roughly 969,000.
949, I think. Well, yeah, 949 to 960.
Got it. Okay.
Well, actually, when I asked the question of the chief about a used vehicle, I wasn't talking about a $715,000 vehicle that he could buy now, like a 20 or 21. I was talking about a heavily depreciated older vehicle in the, say, the $150,000 range, of which there are some available. And the only reason I brought that up was we haven't even gotten the truck that he ordered 2 years ago. That's coming, and we're going to have to start paying for that. And most likely in a few years, we're going to have a hefty tax increase for the residents for the high school. We're going to have something. It's going to be huge. I asked the chief if there was any option to look at something in the used market for something older that could possibly tide us over for a 5-year period, and then go out and get the $1 million truck. At least it would spread out the occurrences of debt for the town, and also kind of smooth out a little bit, because we're going to be adding the truck that's coming in 2023. Hopefully, we're going to have a school that's coming in 2027, and perhaps, pushing out the new vehicle a little bit beyond 25 might possibly be an option. But I haven't heard back yet whether that's a possibility. There are a number of websites where they have used pre-owned vehicles for sale, but I'm not the expert to determine whether or not any of those are applicable or not. So I just raised it as a potential option. I mean, they're in the 85 to 150,000 or so, which is my bias in time. So that's what I was looking at as far as a used. Spending 715,000 and versus 949 is not a whole heck of a lot of difference, and probably the borrowing costs for a used vehicle at that magnitude are probably higher than buying something new, which would just make buying a new vehicle probably the more attractive option anyway. So that was where I was coming from as far as a used vehicle.
Do you know whether he looked into that at all, Don?
I haven't received any information from the chief about that. I mean, excuse me, I could follow up with him tomorrow. But I have not seen anything from him on that.
Okay. All right. Somebody chime in if I'm forgetting something. I think that we covered everything with our town administrator. Is that right? Anachka? Yeah.
I believe so.
I don't know if Jenny can still hear me, but I think at our we haven't scheduled our next meeting yet, but I think at our next meeting, we'll want to get a copy of the draft warrant so we can run through that.
I can hear you, and yep, I'll get that over to you.
Okay, great. So, Dawn, we're just going to wrap up with we're going to vote on the Board of Assessors and then talk about our advisory budget and some other advisory committee business. So you can feel free to carry on with your evening.
Thank you. Just before I leave, I think I already know the answer since advisory is never shy about expressing opinions, but are you comfortable with the approach that I'm proposing as far as funding these projects?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume, maybe I shouldn't assume, I would assume that the select board is gonna be okay with the ARPA proposals. And so assuming that's true, I mean, they all make sense to me. I think it's a good plan.
Yeah, the select board is aware that that's been my goal.
Yeah.
And my hope to fund all that with ARPA, or, you know, with the exception of the stabilization fund for the roof. So we've talked about that previously. I'm sure we'll have another discussion about it next week, but certainly there isn't anything on here that I think would surprise the board.
So this select board member is perfectly fine with this.
Does this exhaust our ARPA funds?
Very good question. No, it does not. It leaves us, I believe, in the neighborhood of about, excuse me, that EV is sticking in my throat, but I can't help it. It's going to leave us, what I'm looking at right now is about $400,000. Because what I really didn't want to do is deplete ARPA either. That was a concern. Because I think we're going to want to have something in the kitty in case something, you know, if we get a surprise next year, we're going to need it.
Ninotchka, remind us again, there's a deadline, right, for spending ARPA?
FY25.
Okay.
I think it's, John, is that right? June 30, 2025?
No, it's all
Wait.
calendar.
I was thinking it was December 24, but that's too early.
Yeah, but by December 24, they want the communities to all have a plan. And by December 26, it needs to be all spent. There was some concern out in some associations, not without some merit, that some of the ARPA funds may be recalled if at the federal level we start having some budget issues there, or maybe a debt reduction plan. I spoke with Congresswoman Trahan's office about that, and they were pretty confident that that's not going to be the case.
Just
So
doing a quick Google right now, it says the roughly a couple things that we need to obligate the funds to something by December 31st, 2024, and spend it fully by December 31st, 2026.
Exactly.
Okay, so then basically we have $400,000 left for 2024 calendar year.
And I'm going to try to take the glass half full approach that with some expenditures that we've already committed money to, maybe they don't get fully spent. Maybe we'll have some things turned back that we can reprogram.
Yep. Okay, great. Oh, one last comment, which is that I love seeing the 5-year plan because one of the cool things is that we're capturing not just money that's appropriated at town meeting, but also spending through Chapter 90 or ARPA. And I think just as a matter of like keeping ourselves able to remember, oh, when did we buy that and how did we buy that? It'll be good to have as a document going forward. So, and I don't know if it's too much work, but it might be good at some point when we're not in the heat of budget season to just go back and add to the spreadsheet what was spent in FY23 from ARPA, just so that we have it in one place.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Nanachka's been keeping a running spreadsheet for us. We know what's been committed, we know what's been spent. So we can just expand off of that.
Cool, sounds good. All right, well, thank you again.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, gosh, see, I closed that Excel spreadsheet. Now I gotta pull it back up for the assessors. Just bear with me 1 second. I can tell you that after our meeting last week, I emailed with the Board of Assessors, and they were able to provide backup for those items. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So the main thing was in purchase of services, I was trying to figure out, there was like roughly $5,000 worth that was not explained, at least in the backup that we had on the town's website. So Kelly Garlock sent me a copy of the proposal, where there was, in previous years, we had been spending like $9,900 on, hold on 1 second, I can tell you exactly what it is. The RRC contract, which is different from RRG. And she sent me the proposal where instead of being like roughly $9,000, it's $14,600. And part of it is because of utility appraisals and some increases in the underlying software. So it's all explained. And I also asked whether they were going to be expecting like jumps of this magnitude every year, and they said no. So I feel comfortable that we have an explanation.
You just gotta believe, Brian.
Yeah. Right.
Brian, so the roughly $2,500 increase for the RRG contract is still captured in there. That's still happening.
Yep. Yeah. 2,300. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And then there's that RRC, which does personal property valuation and utility appraisals, and that had a pretty big jump in its price.
Okay.
So with that, I'd entertain a motion to approve the assessor's budget for a total of 171,244.
I move we approve the assessor's budget for $171,244.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I am a yes also. Okay. So now let's just talk about our budget advisory committee. We have $185 budgeted for supplies and dues. You know what I want to do? Actually, I'm sorry. I want to go back and just make sure that this is updated, because I think every year the MMA sometimes they change the dues to be part of the MMA. So that's what this number's for. I just want to see if it's gone up. So let's hold off on voting that. I did want to talk about the reserve fund, which we currently have set at 150, but we also bumped up the energy lines quite a bit. So do people have thoughts about whether we could consider moving this down again? Nanachka, do you have any thoughts?
I have many thoughts. No. I do think you should bring it down, especially when we're in such a budget deficit. And you can always, we've done it before, come May, if we're in a terrible situation, we can bring a free cash article to town meeting.
Yep. So how would folks feel about bringing that back down to 100? And then if we absolutely have to, this time next year, we could have a special article to increase it if we need to.
Sounds
People-
fine to me.
Sounds good. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the reserve fund budget for $100,000?
I move we approve the reserve fund budget for $100,000.
Second,
Okay, roll call. Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
aye.
Craig,
Aye.
and I am a yes as well. Okay, I know we have some minutes, but I actually before we get into those, I just wanted to talk schedule for a second. So we don't have a meeting scheduled next Tuesday, correct? I don't think we do. I think we just have a placeholder. Nanachka, you should just take yourself off mute because I'm going to be asking you questions as we talk about this. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. The school district will vote on its budget, I believe, tomorrow night.
Ready?
Pardon me?
Already?
Well, they're having their budget hearing, and I saw that there was an agenda item on them for at least to consider and maybe vote. So they might vote on it tomorrow night. At the latest, they'll vote on it on the 15th.
Right.
And then Minuteman may also be getting back to us with some revised numbers by the 15th. So I guess what I'm thinking is, unless you think it's too late, I wonder if we should take next Tuesday off and meet on the 21st. Do you have any concerns about that, Nanachka?
Not really. No, I mean, you guys don't have a lot left, just some cleanup stuff, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk next time, whatever time you want to do it. If you're going to cut anything from the budget, if you're like, how are we making up the deficit? At some point, that needs to be a discussion.
Yeah. All right, why don't we for now, we'll plan on meeting at least briefly to just kind of do like where we are on the budget next Tuesday. And sorry, that's my dog. And then we'll definitely meet on the 21st, and the 21st, hopefully we'll get through everything. And we can schedule a walkthrough of the warrant next Tuesday as well, whatever the warrant is at that point. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Since Greg isn't here and he was there for some of the meeting minutes, I want to hold off until next Tuesday then, if that's okay. Was there anything else before we adjourn from anyone? Bob, Bill, Craig, Stan, anyone? Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Great. Have a great night. See you Tuesday.
Right.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks. Good night.
Bye.